Welcome to Political Perspectives. If you're joining us on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the Washington Examiner channel. I'm Hugo Gurdon, Editor-in-Chief of the Washington Examiner, and I'm joined for my normal weekly conversation with Byron York. And so, Byron, the big story this week is talk of war crimes or a war crime. There was a story in the Washington Post which gave the clear impression, even if it didn't precisely say, that Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, ordered the killing of survivors on a boat, a drug boat that had been hit with missiles by Special Operations Forces in the Caribbean close to Trinidad. Can you explain this scandal or possibly pseudo-scandal that we're all now looking at?
I'm not sure I fully can. First of all, why is there such an uproar over the United States taking two shots instead of one shot to take out this drug running boat and the drug runners on board? Is it that big a difference? I think part of this is really a battle about the policy itself
Right.
of Donald Trump's attacking drug running boats coming from Venezuela to the United States, using military force to do it, as opposed to, say, using the Coast Guard to intercept them and board them and arrest everybody. That's gonna go through the courts. There's no doubt about that. But I doubt there are that many people who are yelling about war crimes who actually support the policy, but just think somehow the second shot crossed a line into war crimes that the first shot did not.
Right.
Because you've had people talk about the whole policy itself being a war crime. So, I mean, we're going to have to get this adjudicated. It is an aggressive use of executive power. There's no doubt about that. But I think that's basically what's at the bottom of this.
Hegseth revealed at a cabinet meeting Tuesday that the second shot, which killed the two survivors who were reportedly clinging to the boat, happened about an hour or possibly a bit more than an hour after he had left Admiral Mitch Bradley and the others who had been executing the mission. Hegseth had been there watching the mission, the first hit, and had obviously approved this and wanted to be there with the people executing the operation. But he said the boat was hit. There was flames. There was smoke. He didn't see any survivors. Nevertheless, he certainly supported Admiral Bradley in having taken the decision to hit the boat a second time. There are still many details to come out, as you say, but as the fog of war, which was a term that Hegseth used, as that clears and there are more details added, doesn't it look more like the people involved acted reasonably and lawfully?
Well, according to their mission, yes. I mean, now there was some speculation about Hegseth maybe leaving Admiral Bradley hanging out to dry by saying he did it. I didn't do it. I was gone.
Right.
But on the other hand, Hegseth has said, I fully supported what he did. He made the right decision. He acted consistent with the orders that Pete Hegseth, gave. So he has actually supported Bradley. And by the way, Congress is going to be questioning Bradley pretty soon about the details of this. But it all depends on whether the Trump policy gets some sort of legal imprimatur in the next few months. Now, there's another question, which is probably in Trump's mind, which is, does the public really care about this?
Right.
They see these as bad guys. They're coming to the United States, and Trump is stopping them.
Right.
Maybe that's about all they're really thinking about. And I would doubt that any discussion of, quote, war crimes, once it's actually examined, once what happened at the Pentagon is actually examined, I doubt that any really fervor over, quote, war crimes would go beyond the pretty hardcore anti-Trump resistance.
Yeah, Admiral Bradley is widely respected. He's not thought to be the kind of military leader who would break the rules of war, but Hegseth has over the years suggested that the rules are overly restrictive, and critics speculate that he created a culture in which the laws of war might be disregarded. Presumably, these are the things that the congressional oversight will investigate, right?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, certainly since the War on Terror, there have been a lot of complaints that the United States was too fastidious about its attacks on enemies in various parts of the world. I remember John McCain, the late John McCain, doing a hearing about U.S. attacks on ISIS during the Obama administration, noting that probably 75% of air missions toward ISIS went up, flew around, didn't drop any munitions at all, and came home because the lawyers told them they couldn't do it.
Right,
And so there's been a lot of complaints about, quote, rules of engagement and about over lawyering. And
right.
certainly Donald Trump in his campaign against ISIS, which was very successful, made a big point of sort of taking the handcuffs off of military commanders and saying, "Look, go kill these guys,
Mhm.
and we'll talk about things later." So I think what Hegseth is doing is generally in line with the directions Donald Trump has given the military ever since he first became commander in chief in 2017.
Yeah, and it's generally in line, therefore, with also with what the voters voted for in 2024, because they knew that there'd been talk in the campaign about creating a warrior ethos, about reviving the military, strengthening the military, and allowing it to actually to impose American will rather than sort of backing off and deferring. So, but the other point that I made in a recent piece of writing was that the arrival of a story in which there is some suspicion of war crime just fits too conveniently in the Democratic messaging of late. It's not very long ago that we had 6 members of Congress, Democrats, both senators and members of the House of Representatives, bringing out a video and distributing it on X, formerly Twitter, saying that the troops should not disobey illegal orders. And there was bipartisan criticism that because it made it seem like the Democrats were sort of undermining the authority of commanding officers and ultimately of the president. In addition, right outside Southern Command, where Admiral Bradley was supervising this mission, there are billboards which make the same point. Don't follow illegal orders in the campaign against the narco boats, the coke boats. There are former military lawyers who have come out talking about Hegseth being guilty of war crimes, murder, or both. This kind of a size of campaign has to be considered in advance, planned, coordinated, and indeed it costs money. So it does seem suspiciously convenient for the Democrats that the Washington Post would come out with a story about the possibility of war crimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it seems a little fishy. Clearly, they come out, the 6 come out with this splashy video. You must reject an illegal order. And then they start doing press interviews and they're asked, well, has President Trump given an illegal order? And they could not give a single example. And
Right,
then, boom, here comes this. And they say, oh, yeah, this is what we're talking about right here.
right,
So it does seem a little convenient. And the last thing is just in this question of the fog of war that Hegseth mentioned. I'm sure many viewers have seen videos on YouTube, which are basically surveillance videos from U.S. gunships, helicopters, and C-130s flying over Iraq and flying over Afghanistan, in which American crews used high caliber weapons to kill lots and lots of enemy combatants. At least They thought they were enemy combatants. They hoped
Right.
they were enemy combatants, but they couldn't know for absolute, totally sure that they were.
Right.
And these are really lethal weapons that they're using.
Yeah.
People are running around on the ground. They have them in the sights. They take them out. Smoke them. They say.
Right.
And so you think to yourself, that's kind of what's involved in this business.
Yeah.
And if the president makes this decision, they carry it out.
Yeah, one last point, we'll move on to something different, but just one last point I'd make about this is that I've spoken to a military expert who I said the weapon that was used here against this boat was not fired from a missile from an aircraft which was in the region coming from a ship that was in the region. This was a land-based missile. People say that, well, why didn't they, destroy the boat after having rescued the survivors? But I don't think it's come out that there was any American ship anywhere in the region to do that. And so, there are lots of questions like that. Was there even any possibility of picking up the survivors? But anyway, that'll come up. I want to change to a subject that you wrote about this week, and that is the final, one hopes, the end of another fake scandal, which was about fake electors. This was always very obviously a confected attack against Trump relating to his dispute of the